everyone, welcome to Slice of Life. This is our new teen program that's going to be held Fridays at 3:30 on Instagram Live. Let me just go ahead and say that the original video that was filmed on Friday, there are technical issues recording it, so this is a new video filmed on Saturday. Slightly different content, which I'll mention as things happen. But anyways, this new program is going to be hosted by me and Abby. So I'm doing this week, Abby's doing next week, and we're going to be sharing life knowledge that we have. Maybe do some DIY programs, some tutorials, or, geeking out about our interests, hobbies, or new things that we've discovered. So this week, I am sharing my knowledge of baking cupcakes. I make cupcakes every week when we have teen programs at the library. So if you've come to those, then hopefully you've gotten a chance to snag a cupcake. And when I'm making cupcakes for the library, I make Pillsbury Funfetti cupcakes. These are really easy to make. You just use your box mix, oil, eggs, and water. But I'm vegan, so I wouldn't be eating these, and I don't have any eggs anyway. So today I'm actually going to be doing a vegan cupcake recipe. They're really, really good, so hopefully you'll give them a try. Some of my friends who are not vegans, they actually kind of prefer them to regular cupcakes, so I'll leave that for you to decide. So today's recipe, we're doing vanilla cupcakes, and it comes from Chef Chloe Coscarelli's book, Chloe's Vegan Italian Kitchen. Highly recommend. You can also follow her on Instagram, or you can go on her website, and she has a similar recipe to what we're making today for coconut cupcakes. So it's about the same, what we're doing now. Or, you can always Google vegan cupcake recipes, regular cupcake recipes. Alright, so we're going to get started. Our ingredients today, we've got flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and soy milk, canola oil, apple cider vinegar, and vanilla extract. So, 9 ingredients. Alright, we're going to mix up our dry ingredients first. Oh, and before we get mixing, I'll just go ahead and say I preheated the oven to 350, so always preheat your oven before you get started. That way, when you're done mixing up your cupcake batter, hopefully your oven's ready to put them in. So I've got some measuring spoons and a cup here. I'm making a half recipe, so the original recipe makes 14 cupcakes, the half recipe makes 7. So I'm just going to be using my 4th cup to do measurements today. And the first way that today's cooking video is different from yesterday's is I'm making gluten-free cupcakes for a friend. So usually you just use regular flour, but you can use gluten-free flour. And the cupcakes, they just have a lighter, fluffier consistency. They're really good. So measuring out 3/4 cups. Almost out of flour. Okay. Then we're going to add our sugar. And I use raw cane sugar because it's vegan. So you use a 4th cup and then a half of a 4th cup, so an 1/8 cup. But you can use regular flour. Okay, then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, baking soda, and salt. So I'm going to do my salt first. I used up my big thing of salt yesterday, so I'm just getting it from the salt shaker, which is a very cute fox. Okay, baking powder. baking soda, which is almost empty. Not quite. Okay. When using baking soda, I like to put it on my palm and kind of press it out, because sometimes baking soda forms clumps and you don't want that in your recipe because it's bitter. Alright, so we're going to whisk all these ingredients together until they are looking combined. Gluten-free flour is not, it's kind of like an off-white tan-ish, well, off-white color. So it's not, regular flour is like super white and this isn't. But that's how, everything looks mixed together. We're going to set this aside and do our wet ingredients in a separate bowl. So we've got our soy milk. We'll do a 1/4 cup and a 1/2 cup. The recipe says you can use soy milk, almond milk, rice milk. You could also probably do dairy milk, and it'll probably turn out the same, but just don't tell the other vegans I said that. Alright, we're going to add our canola oil next. So 1/4 cup of that. You could also, if you don't have canola oil, use vegetable oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. Not olive oil, because that has like a weird, like a stronger taste. These are like neutral oils. Alright, apple cider vinegar. You could also use white vinegar. We're going to do a tablespoon of this. And our last ingredient is vanilla extract. We'll do a teaspoon of this. Alright, and whisk this together until everything looks kind of blended. I don't know, you can't really see that very well, but it's all blended together. Then we bring our dry ingredients over. We're going to mix our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients. Alright, so basically you're just going to mix this until you're not seeing any more dry ingredients. You don't want to over mix it. So if we're making this with regular flour, you could see, you just kind of mix it until like all the ingredients are wet and you're not seeing like, big lumps. Like little lumps are okay. Gluten-free flour has like a different consistency to regular flour. When you're doing this with regular flour, your batter is going to be more liquidy, and this is not very liquidy. You see, it's like pretty solid, staying in place. So that's how using gluten-free flour is different than using regular flour. So putting this over here, we're going to get our cupcake tin and add our cupcake papers. So we just need 7. Well, usually be 7. Last night I made some gluten-free cupcakes, and actually there was only enough batter for 6, so I'm just going to do 6 and see how it turns out. Get a big spoon, and you're going to fill your cupcake papers 2/3 of the way full. So just start out with like a big spoonful for each one. Again, when you're making this with regular flour, your batter mixture is a lot more liquidy, so it's just a bit different when you're scooping it. Usually your batter is like getting all over the place, but gluten-free batter just kind of sticks together, which is interesting. The flour also has kind of a grainy sort of texture when you, if you ate some of the raw batter, which, you could do. There's no eggs in it. Alright. So these actually turned out pretty evenly distributed, like the batter. And my hands are clean, FYI. Washed them real good before starting this. Then I'm going to get my spatula and kind of scrape out the bowl to get the last of the batter out. Because I really don't like to waste food. So I'm like, we'll just use all the batter. Okay. Done. Put this over here. Okay. So, there we go. We're going to put them in the oven. Okay, so this recipe, you bake your cupcakes 16 to 18 minutes. I put mine in for 18 because, my oven, I usually go with a longer time with my oven. Some people's ovens are hotter or whatever. Every oven is different. But, you can always, check on your cupcakes if it's getting towards the end. If you did it for 16 minutes, they don't look quite done. You just leave them in there because the recipe says... you bake them 16 to 18 minutes, and then you can check if they're done. You put a toothpick in the middle, and if they come out dry, they're done. Okay, so those are baking. I did some gluten-free cupcakes last night, so I'm going to bring those over here and frost one for you guys so you can see what they look like when they're done. Ta-da! See, they're a little bit browner than if you're making these with regular flour. I'm using Pillsbury icing. This is surprisingly vegan, and it's really good. It's what I always use. You can make your own icing as well. If you look up some recipes, the Chef's Chloe recipe I told you about, coconut cupcakes, she does talk about making your own icing too. So I just spread my icing, and I'm going to put sprinkles on it because I love sprinkles. Sprinkles are like glitter. They just make the world better. I mean, some people hate glitter, but I like it. So there you go. It's beautiful, ready to eat. I'm going to frost the rest of these later and drop them off on my friend's doorstep because social distancing. Okay. So, not lastly, got a couple things to cover. One is if you're wanting to look up some cookbooks, you can go to RB Digital and Hoopla and look under ebooks. They've got cookbooks, and they even have Harry Potter cookbooks. They have Hoopla has one, and then RB Digital has a different one, so it's not the same Harry Potter recipes. Also, whenever the libraries reopen, if you want to check out Chef Chloe's cookbook, there are some in Pines. You could put them on hold, get them sent to our library, pick them up, and I think that might be it for the cookbooks. And lastly, I'm just going to tell you because I'm wearing my Samuel Hockey t-shirt today, and this is in celebration of one of my favorite comics, Check Please. Its final episodes are being shared this week, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And as you can see, there's print volumes of it. Volume 2, Sticks and Stones, was published this week, so hopefully when the libraries are open again, you can come check out the physical volumes, but you can read the webcomic now. You could just go ahead and binge read it on checkpleasecomic.com or on the Tumblr, OMG Check Please. But this comic is about Eric Biddy, and when the comic starts, he is a freshman student at Samuel, so it covers his 4 years at college. He is on the hockey team, but his true passion is baking, and he loves to make pies. This comic is just so fun and hilarious and sweet, and it gives me like all the feels, and like honestly you'll come to love like all of the characters in it. They're just they're so great. I didn't know anything about hockey before I started reading this. I still don't really. I mean, there's a lot of hockey in it, but that's okay. You don't have to understand it or watch hockey to enjoy this story. A couple of other things about it. So it's by Ngozi Ukazu, and she's a graduate of SCAD in Savannah, so that's pretty cool. And also Biddy, our main character, he's from Madison, Georgia. So yay, lots of Georgia rep.